Fire is one of the most destructive elements that humans have learned to control. Using fire in combat dates back thousands of years and has taken many forms. So what happens when the brave scientists of Super Earth try to perfect this element for use on the battlefield? Well, we get the Flamethrower. This stratagem has been buffed multiple times at this point, with the last being another 50% increase to fire damage in general. This has made it an extremely powerful weapon to take into combat, so today I'll be showing you how it works, its strengths and weaknesses against both factions, as well as its quirks, to entice you to drop the Quasar cannon and try something new. So let's dive right into it, starting off with how it works. Similarly to modern flamethrowers of normal Earth, this weapon projects a stream of flammable liquid that is then ignited to create a flame. This is why the flame does not eject immediately after firing. First, you're able to see a brief spray of this liquid before ignition begins. Once you have fired your first initial burst, you are not interrupted by that initial spray of fuel and can quick fire, which is useful to know during combat. The weapon is extremely good for engagements within a medium distance, as the flame itself has a range of approximately 16 meters, which I tested using these lovely stun plants and a ping to measure the distance. Each canister lasts for 12.5 seconds of continuous spray, and it takes 3.75 seconds to reload the weapon afterwards. One tick of fire will afflict the target with a damage over time effect that will last for 3 seconds after you stop attacking or whenever the unit moves out of fire, as flame will also set the ground it touches on fire as well, but not objects. The size of the fire varies from what I could see on how long you shoot at that particular spot of the ground, as well as if there are any connecting fires. At its largest, I recorded the time it remained at 23 seconds. With the smallest lasting 13 seconds. Setting the ground alight is an important mechanic to utilise when using the flamethrower, as it will prolong the amount of time enemies are afflicted by the damage over time effects, which can help you wipe out hordes of enemies without shooting very much. Make sure you watch your step though, as the fire generated by this weapon will kill you very quickly. Due to this, high ground is your friend. Even if it's a small rock to stand on, it will make a huge difference to your aim and ability to hit targets effectively. Also, something great to know is that the wind in the game can blow your fire across more ground for free, making the weapon even stronger on windy missions. Just make sure it doesn't blow towards your teammates. It would be cool to see them implement armor that was resistant to fire in a similar way to the new cutting edge Warbond has armor resistant to arc damage. Full fire builds would really pop off then. And finally, as of the time this video was posted, you have to be hosting your match to get damage over time from the weapon, so hopefully this bug is fixed soon. Anyway, for now, let's jump into the bread and butter area for the flamethrower, Terminid territory. When calculating time to kill numbers, I observed that purely fire affliction kills small to medium enemies, which are Scavengers, Warriors and Hunters, Troopers and Devastators and Berserkers, about 3 times as slow as direct non-weak spot flamethrower fire, which obviously includes fire affliction damage. So I'll be using that calculation across those enemies to give close approximates on fire affliction damage. For larger enemies such as Bile Spewers, Brood Commanders, Chargers etc. on the side of the bugs, and Hulks and Tanks on the side of the Automatons, I won't give approximate fire affliction time to kill numbers, and I'll be averaging the direct time to kill numbers I recorded for each enemy except for the larger enemies I mentioned earlier, as it's difficult to guarantee purely weak spot hits against smaller, more nimble units with the weapon. The method I used was to record kills on all units, then inspect each clip frame by frame to see how long it took to kill, and I rounded all the times measured to the first decimal for more consistency. This should all give you a good idea about how strong the weapon is against each unit, and it's also worth noting the numbers I give you will start to vary quite a lot once you start spreading your fire around rather than focusing on one target. So Terminids are where this weapon absolutely excels due to the severe enemy numbers, lack of range attacks, as well as the generally lower health pools. Starting off with the basic enemies, the Scavenger types. They will perish if you fire at them for literally a brief moment. It's honestly comical if you find a large group of them, as you can just completely exterminate them from existence. It takes approximately 1/3 of a second to kill them with direct continuous fire, and roughly a second to kill them via fire affliction alone. This theme continues with the Hunter type enemies taking approximately half a second to kill with continuous direct fire, and 1.5 seconds via damage over time. I will note though, if they jump at you from a distance, you may want to either switch to first person or dive backwards, as the aim is a little funny when enemies are point blank at the end of the barrel, but it's not essential as they will still cook rather quickly. Standard warrior enemies will take 1 second of continuous direct fire and 3 seconds of damage over time, with the Hive Guard variants taking 2.5 seconds when attacking front on and 1.5 seconds from behind. These will also perish in approximately 4.5 seconds of damage over time as well. It's not necessary to fire away from their heads, as you can still cook them, so if they're in a group walking towards you, feel free to blast away. When faced with Stalkers, if you can engage them at a safe distance before they're able to gap close, you'll safely be able to kill them. If you blast them in the face, it takes 2 seconds, but if you hit their chest or main body, it will take 3. It's not worth attacking them if they're point blank, as the flamethrower does not stagger them, which leaves them able to absolutely wreck you with their really powerful attacks. So if they surprise you, dive and equip your primary or secondary to scare them off. And now we start moving on to the larger enemies. Here we have Bile Spewers, which it still makes short work of. When attacking head on, it's able to kill them in 1.5 seconds, and it's exactly the same from the side or behind. Although I recorded these at taking nearer to 9 seconds to perish by fire affliction alone, so I'm not sure what happens there. These like to travel together in big compact packs, which is really considerate of them, as you can meal prep by batch cooking them all at the same time. It also makes short work of brood commanders, cooking them in 1 second of continuous fire to the head, yep, 1 second, and it takes about 2.5 seconds if you attack the main body area. Of course, if you pop their head, you'll have to dodge their kamikaze. And then the power of the weapon really starts to shine once you put it through its paces against chargers. As the charger has different health pools for the different zones of attack on its body, I tested how long it took to kill when attacking directly into its face, blowing its back out from behind, and when firing continuously at one of its legs. They all had slightly different times to kill, with the facial attack taking the longest at 10 seconds. Attacking it from behind took 5 seconds to kill, and on the leg 4 seconds to kill. The general tactic to kill a charger is to fire at a specific leg where possible, though if it's facing away from you and you can get a clear shot at its behind, you can get perfectly good value from attacking it this way. When you are solo, leading them to charge into big terrain enough to stop them will give you a lot of time to focus fire on a specific body part. Stun grenades or EMS are also excellent for allowing you to target their legs for the quickest kill. When it comes to Bile Titans, there isn't really very much point in trying to sustain fire against them because you'll be dealing negligible damage. Your ammunition is better utilized elsewhere on the battlefield, so save your sanity and use something else to wipe these out. Before we move on to the Automaton, I'll just go through some top tips for fighting against the bugs. For standard warrior type enemies and brood commanders, you can fry them quickly without popping their heads by aiming for their chest area, stopping them from dashing towards you in a final attempt to get you down. Aiming this way will also benefit you as you'll be spreading the fire across the terrain below, meaning units following in their footsteps will remain afflicted by fire and will be taking a lot of indirect damage as a result. And as much as it would be awesome and make complete sense, you cannot destroy bug holes with the flamethrower from any angle, which is a shame. And finally, here's my approximate time to kill charts for the flamethrower against the Terminids. As we can see, it's an absolute monster against them, with all but the Bile Titan succumbing to the flames within mere seconds. We will compare this to the Automatons later, and with that, we move over from the flamethrower's ideal environment to its hell. Automaton territory. And the TLDR is, just don't. But anyway, there are multiple reasons why this weapon isn't ideal here. 1. The abundance of ranged attacks. 2. Using the flamethrower requires you to stand in a relatively vulnerable position for a prolonged period of time to pull off the most damage, which will leave you completely open to ranged attacks. Thirdly, even if you think you can take cover and wait until they're close, that won't work out very well a lot of the time. For instance, if you have a squad of Berserkers getting close to you, you may not be able to take them out in time and they will absolutely mince you if they get close. Not to mention Hulks, which are a massive issue for this weapon, and they will only return the favour by cooking you up if you try to attack them with it. All Devastators except the normal ones will wreck you if you leave yourself open whilst attacking them with the flamethrower, and tanks will laugh in your face. But don't worry, you will kill troopers quickly. That makes up for it, right? For you absolute pyromaniacs out there who are willing to go through the pits of hell by taking this weapon into battle against the bots, I tested its damage against the units, so let's jump into what I found. Starting off with the good, the flamethrower will make extremely short work of all types of trooper units. It takes but a mere 0.75 seconds to take them out. They'll literally crumple after a moment of fire, and after about 2.25 seconds of fire affliction alone. This will also outright kill troopers and scout striders through the front, or sometimes they will dismount before succumbing to the flames. The weapon is particularly great at taking out the melee variants, as, well, they love to run towards you, and the ranged threat from the rest is still a big issue, but if you're close, you'll make short work of them. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is just about where the good news ends. From here, it gets much more arduous and harder to justify bringing this weapon into automaton territory. We'll start with the Berserkers. These units have an ungodly amount of HP, and if you don't have a decent amount of ammunition left in your canister, you may begin to struggle if there are a few of them, as it takes 3 seconds of continuous direct fire to bring one of them down, which will be much longer if you're spreading your attack around to hit more than one. They can also, because of this endless pit of HP, take a lot of damage over time from the affliction, roughly 9 entire seconds. When fighting against these, it's really important to make sure you don't accidentally shoot for their legs, as you'll need to leverage every second against them or they will get to melee distance and destroy you. All variants of the Devastator go down with relative ease in about 1.25 seconds if you blast their face, and 2.75 seconds directly shooting their body. Of course, this is as long as you don't get caught out by ranged attacks, which is almost impossible to do whilst using this weapon. The shield Devastators will block the direct fire from the weapon, but will still be afflicted by fire. This will not save you though if you're out in front of them, as it's going to take approximately 8.25 seconds to take them down with fire affliction. Tanks will absolutely laugh in your face if you attempt to burn them from anywhere but their vents. This makes soloing the anti-heavy tanks hard yet doable, but the AA tanks impossible as they just turn too quickly. If you manage to get a hold of the vents, you're going to need a solid 10 seconds to burn through one, which is a horrid state of affairs. Tanks also do not take any fire affliction from what I could observe, so that doesn't help in the slightest. And just to top it all off, if you get on top to kill the vents, you risk being sent to the moon for your efforts. And now the all-incredible hulks. Yeah, the flamethrower does 0 damage. Nada. Nothing. You can dump as much fire into the front or back as you want, they'll not feel a thing, and you'll be wasting your time completely. I'm not sure if this is a bug or not, but they're literally impervious to fire, so best of luck to you, Diver. What you have to remember after all of this is using the flamethrower puts you in a very low mobile and vulnerable state, where you're likely just going to be peppered from a distance before you pull off any reasonable damage to the things that will take it. It's honestly not worth your time. Here's the time to kill chart regardless. Troopers, scout striders and devastators, if you can get to them safely, will all die very easily. Everything else is either a chore or just invulnerable to the damage. So it's safe to say you should probably not take it into automatons, unless you're a full-on pyromaniac. Here's both charts for your enjoyment. Drop a subscribe if you enjoyed this video and let me know in the comments which other weapons you would like covered in this way. For now, I'll see you in the next video.